Whoa, why am I stammering? Marinette gasped. Tiki giggled. I think I might have an idea. Marinette blushed and turned away. Was she really crushing on a guy she had just met? Just because he was nice to her? That wasn't like herself. She wasn't the type of girl to fall in love with a guy just because of his charm and good looks. She wanted someone who was smart, who knew how to use his head, and who genuinely cared about her and everything in the world. So why was her heart pounding so fast? Just because a boy gave her an umbrella? Again, she had only met him yesterday. She even despised him for a length of time. He was friends with Chloe. Anyone who was a friend of Chloe's was an enemy to her. But she glanced up, watching the boy get into his car. His blonde hair was soaking wet, dripping into his green eyes. He glanced through the window and gave her a smile as the car drove off. Her heart started hammering, her breath short. The wind and rain howled around her as she remembered what he had said to her. Just wanted you to know, I was just trying to take the chewing gum off your seat. I swear. He glanced away shyly, the umbrella covering his face. Marinette couldn't believe it. He had been trying to help her. What if he was lying? No. If he had put the gum there on purpose, he wouldn't have felt the need to try and convince her that he didn't. He glanced back at her. His expression and body language looked almost nervous, like he felt vulnerable. I've never been to school before, he whispered. The rain was pelting against the ground, but somehow she only heard his voice. I've never had friends. It's all sort of... He turned away again like he was embarrassed, new to me. He turned around to look at her again. This time it looked like he wanted to see if she was still there. When he locked eyes with her, he smiled, like she was the only person who ever mattered. No one had ever looked at her like that before. Before she could even say or do anything, he turned around fully and extended his umbrella towards her. His green eyes never moved from hers. They stayed locked. Marinette had never been so speechless in her life. This boy, who she barely knew, who barely knew her, was offering to give her his umbrella. She could hear the storm, feel the rain splashing against her skin. She couldn't take her eyes off him. Him offering his own umbrella. He was sacrificing it. He would get drenched just so she wouldn't have to. A stranger was offering an umbrella. A stranger who maybe she had misunderstood at first. A stranger who didn't have to be a stranger. Marinette realized she hadn't moved. She was still just staring at him, mouth gaped open a little. He was still there, holding out his umbrella, waiting for her to make a choice. She closed her mouth and blushed. She slowly reached for the umbrella when she accidentally bumped his hand. Embarrassed, she jumped back a little, but the boy just smiled and gently put the umbrella in her hands. She held on the umbrella tight, for the wind was rapid. She was blinking the rain out of her eyes when a rush of wind blew in her face. Startled, she accidentally pushed the button that closed the umbrella. It smacked her right in the face, and her vision went dark. Suddenly, she heard laughing. Her face turned red. Was he laughing at her? Almost too embarrassed to look, she slowly opened up the umbrella again. Marinette remembered his expression. It wasn't rude or harsh. His laugh was light and soft. He wasn't teasing her or making fun of her. He was just laughing. Marinette had started to laugh too, because who wouldn't? She had probably looked ridiculous. His laugh reluctantly turned into a smile. See you tomorrow. And the boy turned and walked down the stairs. The rain pelted him, and the wind tousled his hair, but he just walked. He walked like the sun was shining. The boy stopped at the bottom of the stairs and looked up at the rain, letting the cold droplets of water run down his face. And there Marinette still stood, at the top of the stairs, confused but satisfied, surrounded by frigid rain, but feeling as warm as she had ever felt. Had met a stranger, but now had a friend. Instead of a boy giving her flowers, he had given her an umbrella. Smart, because it was raining. Caring, because he didn't want her to get wet, instead letting himself take the damage. Marinette smiled as she stared into the direction that the boy's car disappeared from. Maybe she wasn't changing after all. Marinette slowly bent down to pick up her book bag and carefully walked down the stairs. As she was walking through the cold, dreary rain, she was thankful to have an umbrella with her. The boy's umbrella. No, he wasn't just the boy anymore, for he was no longer a stranger. She blushed as she corrected her thoughts. Adrien's umbrella.